edition of Value My Vote 2011 one-on-one with the candidates. And we're joined by 13th District candidate, Ms. Kimberly Armstrong. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. And you, Hassan?
I'm just right. I'm just right. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for coming on. Not having me on. But it is your show because it's all about you, right? You know, the voters are looking to see why Kimberly Armstrong wants to be the next councilwoman for the 13th District.
Well, a lot of people know my work and know what I have done, especially in my community in Bel Air, Addison. But I think that we need to have a stronger voice in City Council. I think that we need to have people in City Council, especially in my district, in District 13, that will have a proactive approach in changing things.
I attended a while back. It was at a school that you put on an event for young people. You had a panel. I think Lil Melvin was there.
Yes.
And you do a lot of this stuff proactively in the community, based off the violence that we see in the streets of Baltimore. What would you do as a councilwoman to kind of proactively change or try to change that or mold that culture amongst our young people?
One of the critical issues that I really want to address, and that's family strengthening. Because I believe that when you strengthen the family, that you help the child. A lot of times we talk about helping the child, but we don't talk about how to include the family as a whole. Children come from somewhere, so we have to learn how to strengthen the families. And families may not necessarily mean the mother and the father. It may mean the grandparent. It could be a neighbor. It could be an aunt. Because as we know, families are not like how they used to be. We have a different kind of family now. So I want to take a proactive approach in helping families and strengthening them so that hopefully youth won't commit crimes and get into trouble.
And that's the key, because all the educators in the world can't change what goes on at home. But what, as a council person, what do you see as the two probably greatest issues Baltimore is facing right now that you would focus on during your candidacy and your first 100 days or so in the council?
One of the things I would like to look at is the budget. I don't know if you saw the recent budget that was passed, but when I looked at it, I was very distraught, and which is also one of the reasons that influenced me to run, was because we increased the police budget by 35%, but we cut so many other programs that help families, that help youth, recreation centers. So, and when you do things like that, we're taking a deficit-based approach and not an asset-based approach, and looking at what we can enhance to better enhance our communities so that crime will not go up. So therefore, you don't have to increase the police budget, because it's sending a bad message to already a community that is in despair. And I know in my district, in the 13th district, and you know, we are all facing critical issues around joblessness. So we need to have someone that's more innovative and creative around the resources that we do have. So those are some of the things that I would like to address as being a councilwoman.
And you speak of that, and I address this with everybody that's been on here, is when we talk about the budget, especially this year's budget and last year's budget, we see a big disparity in education funding opposed to police and public safety, almost 30 to 40% difference. Right. But other jurisdictions don't have that. They put education first at the top of the class. What would you do as a council person to kind of balance that approach in your approach to education, getting more funding than the actual?
And that's what I mean about being proactive, because one of the things that I would like to do is really educate the community so that the community will have a bigger voice on a state level. Because far too often what happens is things happen at the federal level, they happen at the state level. By the time it hits to the local level, it's already done. So you need to have a community that will be educated, informed, and then empowered, and then you need to mobilize them so that they have a bigger voice down in Annapolis during the General Assembly. One key thing that I know from doing this work for the last 10 years, especially on critical issues like crime and violence and around juvenile and criminal justice reform, is that when you have a bigger voice, especially before things already happen, that people are more likely to listen to you and what your cause is, and that way you can have a bigger influence. But if you wait until it hits to the city, the damage is already done. So you have to really communicate about educate the community about policies and what is happening or before it even happens, so that they have a chance to even give their voice, or at least say, at least I tried.
When we talk about education, we got the local school board that is now an appointed process between the mayor and the governor. Do you support that appointed process, or do you more in favor of a elected or a hybrid type of school board?
I'm in favor of more of a hybrid school board because you have both. You have some elected, some community people, and some parents. So that's the check and balances. Because far too often when you just have one entity, it gives them too much power. But I think that if you have a hybrid a school board, is that it gives everybody, stakeholders of the community, stakeholders, as well as parents. Parents need to be heard. We all, say that children, listen to their parents, and parents know their children better than anyone. So why not have the parents involved on a greater level so that they really can help influence how the school district is teaching their children?
And when you speak of that checks and balances, coming into the primary election, you have the current councilman who's the incumbent, and you have a few challenges such as stuff. When you go door to door with the voters watching, what would be the key thing you tell them why they should vote for you over the other opponents of yours that are going to say that they're this and they're that as well? What defines Kimberly Armstrong, and why should they vote for you?
I would tell them to look at my record. I have a sheet where I can show them the kind of work that I've been doing in the community, abroad, not just in my district, but what really counts is in my district, District 13, but also in Baltimore City, in the state of Maryland, as I've been appointed to a lot of different committees from the state level, the city level, the local levels. I can just tell them to look at my record. Not only do I live in Bel Air Edison and in District 13, but for the past 10 years, I have actually worked in District 13. I have run mentoring programs out of schools. I'm a part of my community association. Many people in the community, especially in Bel Air Edison, know the kind of work that I have done.
How can those who are watching, who want to get more involved and learn more about Kimberly Armstrong, how can they get more involved in your campaign or get in contact with?
Okay, they can go to my website, which is www.KimberlyMArmstrong.com, or they can call 1-888-788-9943, or they can email me at KimberlyArmstrongForCityCouncil.com at yahoo.com.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Kimberly Armstrong. We thank you so
Hassan.
much
Thank you
for
so
taking
much.
your time, and we wish you all the best in your run
Thank you.
for election in the 13th district.
Thank you.
Not a problem, and we'll be back with more.